I didn't set out to make this a long video, but I did set out to make it the most complete collection of what one guy called the mass chaos of black mob violence on the 4th of July all over the country, towns big, towns small. Now you guys know we don't do too much about Chicago here because it's just too easy. But even in Chicago, they said this July 4th weekend was the worst anyone has seen there for a long time. So why don't we just start in Chicago and go to Baltimore and then just race through these things just as quickly as we can.
For the units at 5, in the call of shots fired and that people are setting off fireworks and shooting in the rear.
As people were enjoying 4th of July at the Alameda County Fair, a fight suddenly erupted, and as sheriff's deputies tried to break it up, fists started flying again. Another young man suddenly punched one of the suspects. Deputies tackled that attacker, wrestling him to the ground. Nearly 36 Alameda County Sheriff's deputies swarmed onto the scene. Some moved in to push onlookers back.
Everyone back, man, go back.
As fairgoers looked on, the tension ratcheted up.
Go! 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 If you're pregnant, you got no business here. Go!
I'm here. I have a right to be
Go!
Motorcycle units sped in with sirens blasting. Some deputies pulled out their batons. And the sheriff's department said there were some baton strikes. Some of the fairgoers called for more courtesy. After about a half hour, deputies took the suspects away. Security remained tight as fairgoers returned to their 4th of July celebrations.
Show of force to quickly prevent further escalation of violence, and it was successful because when our motors did come in, there was no longer violence, and fair operations went back to normal.
Some of the fairgoers said they appreciated the heightened security because they remember 1998 when there was a shooting here at the fairground that essentially shut down the fireworks show for nearly 2 decades. Again, 10 people were arrested, and they say that so far up until this year, this is the first incident they have had here at the fair.
Instead of watching over people in the water, lifeguards at Ocean City were fending off an attack on the 4th of July. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Ian Page.
And I'm Lucy Nolan. The mad scene turned a family-friendly atmosphere on Independence Day into an all-out brawl. Let's get to Fox 29's Chris O'Connell live in Ocean City. Chris.
That's right, Lucy and Ian. If you know Ocean City, you know it is a dry town. It is a town that does not sell alcohol, and it is known for its family-friendly atmosphere. Well, all of that changed yesterday during a 4th of July drunken beach brawl that landed 5 guys in jail.
Fox
29 obtained exclusive video of the 4th of July beach melee in Ocean City, where police say their own officers and lifeguards were assaulted. Part of the video, you see an Ocean City police officer on the bottom of the pile.
You have a big scene on the beach, 4th of July weekend. This is Ocean City. We are a dry town. We don't tolerate any alcohol in public, especially on the beach and the boardwalks.
But it was alcohol, Ocean City police say, fueled a rowdy group of friends at 8th Street and the beach. When lifeguards tried to quiet the group down, police say they were assaulted by several men. And when police were called, they too got into the tussle. The chaos left beachgoers stunned.
My parents live here long, 30 years, never seen anything like it.
Holly and Steve Hang, here on a week's vacation, had a front row seat to the late afternoon beach brawl.
They had no respect for the lifeguards or the police. They don't deserve to be on the beach.
One of the suspects is seen escaping from police and running into the Wonderland Pier before being arrested.
The policemen came and they were wrestling him to the ground and punching, and then he took off and running through the dunes.
Fox 29 has learned the guy seen running away is 26-year-old Breland J. Roach of Harrisburg. He was arrested just 2 weeks ago in Dauphin County on drug charges. 4 other men from Harrisburg and Philadelphia were also cited for assault, disorderly conduct, and resisting arrest. Police want to send a clear message about messing with lifeguards.
Their ability and their job is to save the people out in the water. And yesterday we tied up a lot of lifeguards for this incident for a few rowdy people and probably jeopardized the safety of others on the beach.
Breaking news alert video surfacing of sparks flying at a Collierville Independence Day celebration. And these were not the fireworks. Juveniles involved in a fight before the 4th. Good evening. I'm Joe Birch.
And I'm Kanji Anthony. WMC Action News 5's Sasha Jones is live with the action we've learned police are taking tonight. Sasha.
Joe and Kanji, this is the parking lot where that brawl took place. 2 of the teens knocked down right onto the concrete, but now we know that Collierville police are investigating and tracking down the other teens involved. At the Collierville fireworks, these are the fireworks that stole the show. A knockdown teenage fight in the middle of the parking lot at Cox Park. This cell phone video shows teenage girls being pulled down to the ground and kicked repeatedly. We blurred the video to conceal the identities of the juveniles.
And accused one of us of looking at them when we were looking at a food truck.
3 of the teens involved talked with WMC Action News 5. They say they were attacked. The reason? Well, they say another teenager said they were staring in the wrong direction. That's when they say a teenage girl called over 5 other teenagers to jump in the fight.
She attacked me from behind, and as soon as she pulled my hair, I was like way over there and she was way over here.
I was scared because when it all happened, I really thought I was about to die.
The grandfather of the girls says what you are seeing in this video is more than just a fight.
That wasn't a fight, that was an assault.
He says his grandchildren were assaulted, and he wants the Collierville Police Department to take action.
But I just want the people of Collierville to know that this is actually going on in this community.
Last night, unfortunately, we had an incident in our community, in the Lonsdale neighborhood, where we had numerous calls that rather than just firing fireworks off, which is illegal in the city limits, but it wasn't just firing fireworks off. We had those calls throughout the city. The difference in this call last night in the Lonsdale area is they were firing fireworks at people and at vehicles, making it an extremely dangerous situation. Our officers that responded to the initial calls were attacked by having fireworks shot at them. Now, when we talk about fireworks, I'm not talking about sparklers and sprinklers or whatever it is they call those things.
Black cats? No Roman candles or screaming mimes?
No.
Oh, come on, man. You don't got no lady fingers, buzz buttles, snicker bombs, church burners, finger blasters, gut busters, zippity doodads, or crap flappers?
No, I don't.
You're gonna stand there owning a fireworks stand and tell me you don't have no whistling bungholes, no spleen splitters, whisker biscuits, honky lighters, hoosker do's, hoosker don'ts, cherry bombs, nipsy daisers, with or without the scooter stick, or one single whistling kitty chaser?
we're talking about serious high-grade explosives, the types that go up in the air and provide professional-looking expositions and explosions. And those were the types of fireworks that were being shot. Not, it wasn't a firecracker or a sparkler. These were high-grade explosives that were being shot at people and at cars, and then eventually at police officers. Those officers backed out, called for assistance, and so we had a number of teams that entered on foot and 4 officer patrols to disperse what has been described to me as a little over 300 people in a 4-block area. And so those officers responded, attempted to get control of the chaos that was taking place. And what we know is that they again, individuals in those crowds began shooting fireworks at the officers as they were on foot approaching. And so as we were trying to identify what was going on and who was involved, an individual was seen specifically firing fireworks, and that individual was attempted to apprehend that individual. He fled on foot.
Independence Day celebrations in a Knoxville neighborhood really turning dangerous as fireworks are shot at people and police.
Yeah, a man and 2 others now believed to be responsible. All this happening last night in Lonsdale. Isn't WATD 6 on your side's Jennifer Webb there to find out more about what happened and how those officers are doing. Jennifer.
Hi, Bo and Lori. Neighbors tell me, and others who were here last night say this street and the streets around it look like a war zone. Chief Roush saying his officers described it as scary. Today, Chief Roush addressed the media, telling us officers responded after multiple reports of fireworks being shot at cars and people. When officers arrived, around 300 people were gathered. Some of them began shooting high-grade explosive fireworks at officers. Officers attempted to arrest one man who fled on foot. They were able to catch him, but several others tried to intervene. And officers arrested a juvenile family member. Another juvenile was arrested as well.
Permission to continue to hold the 1095 apartment 180 of Lonsdale Homes, B73, and permission to hold at 1095 5801 Rockwood for fireworks being shot at the complainant's house and vehicles.
What's the one in Lonsdale?
They have 3 calls on it. It's going to be for several subjects shooting fireworks at people, vehicles, and apartments and houses.
About 75 black males and females. They are on Delaware now, I believe. Kojak. 3 or 4 of them shot Roman candles at me. So, I don't know which ones they were, though I couldn't give you a specific description.
Now getting another call at 1935 Minnesota, apartment 254 of Lonsdale for several children or several 1084s that are firing to 95s at cars and people.
Yeah, I'm rolling 97. There's fireworks all over the place over here. So, I got something on that, but it's probably going to take me a few minutes to go golf on all these.
10-4.
Charlie, that unit's pulling out of the parking lot. Stand by. I'm injured. I need to get out of here.
Teenage girl arrested last night says she is not sorry for what happened to 2 police officers hurt in a clash with a crowd over fireworks.
They were sent out to deal with a number of complaints out there. Reports of fireworks actually being shot at cars and at people there. This all happening at Lonsdale Homes near Minnesota Avenue around 10:30.
KPD says officers were trying to clear the crowd when people started shooting fireworks
with fireworks. Jaron Mobley was arrested after a chase, and as he was being taken into custody, a crowd apparently started hitting, kicking, and trying to pull an officer away from Mobley. The officer suffered scrapes to his arm.
Also last night, police say a second group of people shot a firework at another officer. It burned a hole in his boot, injuring his toe.
I got permission from Reginae Jones' parents to speak with her. She tells me when she saw her brother being arrested, she didn't think twice. If he was going to jail, so was she.
It was pretty much a war out here.
When her brother was being arrested by Knoxville police, Reginae Jones says she had no choice but to intervene.
The cops were in back here and they was chasing him, so they got him on the ground. So I went to my brother because I didn't know where he was at, so I started punching the cops. the cops from the back of their head. I didn't stop.
Jones and her brother, Jaron Mobley, were arrested after Knoxville police responded to several reports of fireworks being thrown at cars and people in Lonsdale.
I was running my mouth, and that's when they had handcuffed me right there, right near the trash cans, and then they took me down, and I was sitting in the car, and they lied. Ooh.
Jones says KPD owes her family an apology.
They can write a letter to my mama and tell her that she's sorry for making her kids go to jail. Because I didn't even want to go. Well, I kind of went to jail because I was kicking their window. I about busted their window.
Knoxville Police Chief David Roush says,
if that's your mindset, that you have no choice when someone who's committed a criminal act, and you have no choice but to attack the officer.
That's people who they say surrounded a group of police officers and threw firecrackers at them. John Monk has our details.
While Roger Young Park was filled with people here to see the Fremont fireworks display Monday night, some people were firing off fireworks of their own here at the park's basketball courts. And when police approached them, the police were confronted by a large group of people. Chief Dean Bliss says after his officers tried to stop the teens from firing the illegal fireworks, another teen blocked them from getting to the suspects. So the officers arrested that other teen for obstruction. That's when a larger group surrounded the officers, angry over the arrest. Then someone from the crowd threw lit firecrackers at the officers. Thankfully, others at the park stood up for the police officers and helped quell the mob.
There was an adult female down there that was able to help control the crowd with us. As well as several city employees came to try to assist and to keep the problem from escalating.
Our next video needs a little bit of play-by-play, or at least we have some play-by-play available. It comes from the members of the local media who were broadcasting the parade and fireworks live out in Rockford, Illinois. He begins his post by talking about how much he loves Rockford, how much he loved the parade, how much he loves fireworks, but alas, there was some disappointment. This is what he says. The disappointment came after the parade and continued through the fireworks show, but had nothing to do with either. Some of what happened you may have seen live on television. Our broadcast began at 8 p.m. with no problems. That changed once it started to get dark at 8:45. People started tossing fireworks around behind us. First it was just in the street. Eventually they threw fireworks at people into the crowds. One firework landed within a foot of some of our crew members. We were thankfully not broadcasting at the time. Some people even were so brazen to toss fireworks at the cops. We caught that on video. You'll see that coming up. Police rounded up some of them, but not all. People dropped water bottles on the crowd from the parking garage. At one point, someone dropped fireworks from the same garage onto the crowd. Another person tried to walk right in front of Candace King. As we were live, I thought Candace was going to tackle him. She almost did. That might have been fun to see. But that was a minor incident compared to everything else erupting in that intersection. This was not a few knuckleheads, as some people like to categorize what happens in this city. There were several hundred people, mostly young adults, who came downtown either to cause trouble or to watch for someone to cause trouble as a form of entertainment. We didn't make this up. We didn't go out and try to find something controversial either. It unfolded right in front of us. My family and my co-workers were witnesses to it all. As a station, we spent practically the last week and even the minutes leading up to the violence talking about what a great event the downtown 4th of July festivities are for our community. No one had better dare try to accuse us of sensationalizing the bad thing. Anyone who believes the Rockford police don't do a good job or criticizes officers for the way they treat people should really shut their mouths until they spend a night on the beat with police. These officers showed incredible restraint as the mayhem unfolded around them and they became targets. There was total disrespect for the authority. That was pretty obvious as the crowd not only lit fireworks in front of police, but also tossed the explosives at the officers. Thank you, Rockford police officers, for putting your lives on the line for us every day. As I stood out in the open on our set, scanning the crowd for who was responsible, watching for something else to happen so I could point police to the culprits, I was never afraid. My family was in a safe place, protected. I was more angry than anything else. That some incredibly selfish people would ruin an event for everyone else, a positive, family-focused tradition, is infuriating. For the first time in my TV career, we canceled a live broadcast not because of technical issues, not because of weather, not because we had to send crew to another scene. We canceled because it was too risky. My wife and I are big advocates for this community. We've chosen to live here. We've chosen to raise our daughters here. We volunteered for or organized dozens of events over the last several decades to make this a better place. We believe it can be better. But the 4th of July 2017 will go down as the day I lost a little bit of hope for our community. Okay, well, as much as this guy says he loves this community, he doesn't love it enough to tell the truth about what happened in Rockford, Illinois, how a large mob of black people ruined their 4th of July with violence, attacks on police, and lots of other bad business. Let's see what that looks like.
It was just before 10 last night that a family of 4 from South Dakota was here trying to catch a shuttle bus back to their hotel. But what happened as they waited is something they say they'll never forget.
It started to get really packed, a lot of people coming in, so we decided to have the shuttle bus pick us up at 9:45 just to get out of there and beat the rush.
As the Gibson family was leaving Worlds of Fun at the pickup and drop-off area, they say dozens of teenagers started making their way toward them.
They were being pretty rowdy, a lot of foul language and stuff. It made us pretty uncomfortable. We just tried to ignore them. I was videoing the fireworks display and I heard a big smack. There a fight broke out between 2 girls. They were down on the ground.
Michelle Gibson, her 2 daughters ages 6 and 7, and her husband say they were surrounded by about 100 teenagers in a matter of seconds.
Everybody just started running in. At that point we were being pushed. There was stuff knocked out of our stroller. They were behind us, in front of us, beside us, and everybody was fighting then.
She was already recording the fireworks, so she watched it all unfold on video as she wondered how to protect her young children.
How do we get out of this? I was so scared for my kids because they were hysterically screaming.
She says security eventually came and tried to get the crowd of kids to disperse. She says they weren't allowing anyone back in, so their shuttle bus couldn't get through.
It was over 2 hours we waited before they'd let him come. They knew we were waiting for him. They wouldn't let us leave because there was kids everywhere, and my daughters had to wet their pants.
They were eventually escorted onto the shuttle bus by security, but say the damage was already done.
It was hard to explain to the kids. They didn't understand what was going on, and seeing one girl pulling another girl's hair. And you explain that to kids that are innocent.
Gibson says Worlds of Fun offered them free passes and fast lane passes for today and apologized for everything. She says she hopes no one else ever has to witness something like this, especially young children.
I can't believe that this would happen at a family amusement park.
And now some are outraged at the family-friendly event. Well, it ended in chaos. And Local 24's Brad Broders is live at Bellevue in Cordova. Hi, Brad.
How you doing, Brandon and Katina? One such witness told Local 24 earlier today she saw stampedes, fisticuffs, and other chaos, a frightening scene here last night just as those fireworks went off.
Soon there will be nothing for you that's left here in this community if it doesn't stop.
Sonia Jackson's anger and embarrassment linger today after she said unruliness overshadowed a family-friendly fireworks event last night at Bellevue Baptist Church.
You could see large amount in groups of young people. They were running, trying to run to the chaos.
Memphis police arrested one person, a 17-year-old, for disorderly conduct and resisting arrest. The report said the teen struggled with 4 officers who were breaking up another fight in the northeast corner of Bellevue's property.
And I was so embarrassed, just embarrassed of how it looked and how kind Bellevue was to open this up to everybody.
Several other people who attended the fireworks show posted similar issues on Facebook. As for Jackson, despite the poor behavior by some, she said she'll be at the 2018 events.
I want to go back because the thing about it is that we have to take the city back. We can't continue to run.
The celebration turned out into mass chaos last night in Pickerington. Crowds that were waiting for the annual fireworks show, they dispersed into panic after reports of an active shooter on site.
But police say it was all a false alarm. NBC4's Courtney Yoon reports tonight from Victory Park.
A holiday tradition was ruined for the thousands of people who come here to watch Pickerington's annual fireworks display. 15 minutes before the big show, people started screaming and shouting at others to run away from a gunman.
Before we pulled up, I was like, "You're in for a treat," and little did I know that would happen.
Tim Smart brought his girlfriend Sarah Dundar to see her first Pickerington fireworks show last night. Just a few minutes after they sat down on the hill, people started panicking.
It was probably like 100 people running, and when they started screaming, we kind of realized that something was not right.
Is this a shooting? Is it a bomb? Is this a terrorist attack? All I knew is that we needed to get as far away as possible.
They grabbed his young niece's hand and ran through Old Pickerington.
The scary part was losing her or her falling behind, so tried to make sure we had her.
Dundar says she heard rumors that someone got shot and died. Now she's hoping to move past this terrifying ordeal.
Just working through that and trying to not be afraid of a crowd like this again.
But it was a traumatizing event for many families.
It was like a terrorist event happened to them. They thought something like that was happening.
Pickerington Police Commander Todd Cheney says it was all a dangerous prank played by a group of kids officers are still looking for.
Happening right now, thousands of people are heading home after the big Independence Day celebration at Centennial Olympic Park in downtown Atlanta.
And police watched the crowds at Georgia Salutes America from all angles to make sure everyone headed home safely. Now, in the last 20 minutes, we learned police arrested several people after a fight on Andrew Young and Centennial Olympic. That's right across from the park.
And Channel 2's Nefertiti Jacquez is live at Centennial Olympic Park, and Nef police did not have any other incidents like this to deal with out there tonight.
No, it was an amazing night. They didn't have to deal with anything. In fact, the thousands of people that showed up here to the park had an amazing time. Then around 10:30 in the evening, we saw a swarm of officers heading into the direction of the Ferris wheel and the Waffle House there, and it was there that we're told a group of men were arrested after some sort of scuffle.
Police in Muskegon are looking for a woman they consider a person of interest in a 4th of July stabbing. This is who they are trying to locate, 30-year-old Raquelio Fountain. They say she was at a home on Grand Avenue last night when there was a large fight. When officers arrived, they found 24-year-old Arisha Hudgens with multiple stab wounds. Hudgens was taken to the hospital where she later died.
He's described as a quiet person who gets along with just about everyone. So friends of 30-year-old Antonio Smith can't understand why someone would take his life. Highland Park police say Tuesday night more than 250 people had been enjoying a 4th of July block party here on Midland and 3rd Street.
It was a substantial block party, nice 4th of July celebration, very friendly.
Police say this field was packed with people, many young children, when someone managed to sneak right behind Smith, firing a single gunshot into the back of his head, killing him.
With the amount of people, the fireworks noise, the confusion in general, that person escaped the scene.
Thousands of people packed downtown Rochester for the annual 4th of July fireworks show last night, but as the show ended, 5 teens were stabbed in multiple fights. As 13 WHAM's Kelsey Smith reports, this has mayoral candidates saying the city needs to do a better job of keeping people safe. Kelsey.
Matt, Rochester Police Chief Michael Simonelli says one of the fights happened here on the Broad Street Bridge. He tells us nearly 60 police officers were on duty last night during and after those fireworks, more than they've had in the past here downtown. But mayoral candidate Rachel Barnhart says the city needs to do better and make sure people are safe during these family-friendly events. Fellow candidate James Shepard, who is also a former Rochester police chief, says he thinks the city needs to be honest and transparent with what goes on in Rochester.
The city subsidizing. I find it very disappointing, the fact that we can invite people down to downtown Rochester and we can't make them feel safe, or we can't make them be safe.
It's a community issue. It's going to require a community solution. That said, I would hope that the Rochester Police Department had an action plan last night.
I could tick off a very long list of very successful, very safe events that have happened, and there was a stumble on this one. And again, if I don't know at this point if a different type of police presence or response would have made a difference, but I can tell you we'll be honest about it.
Chief Simonelli says the department and the city are taking this seriously and debriefing on what could have been done better. A 13-year-old was arrested for having a knife on Broad Street and South Avenue. He has since been released back into the custody of his parents. There was also another arrest earlier in the night unrelated to the fights for disorderly conduct.
Hey, they fucked up.
You okay? Is you okay?
Hey, come here, man.
bond for the 16-year-old accused of killing 1 and injuring 3 more in a 4th of July shooting in downtown Raleigh. The shootings happened at the McDonald's on South Street, just a block from a July 4th fireworks show. CBS North Carolina's David Hurst joins us live from the Wake County Justice Center with a message from the family of the 18-year-old who was killed. David.
Yeah, Sharon, Raheem Lawrence's family chose not to come here to court today. They said they were not quite ready to face the 16-year-old accused of killing their loved one. I did speak with Raheem's sister, though, and she tells me she had a conversation with her brother just hours before the shooting. It's a conversation she says she'll never forget. It's been more than 24 hours, but for Shelby Lawrence, the death of her brother still has yet to set in.
When they told me the news in the hospital, I didn't even react. Like, I was so numb.
18-year-old Raheem Lawrence was one of the 4 people shot Tuesday night at the downtown Raleigh McDonald's. The other 3 shot, including a 13-year-old girl, have since been released from the hospital. Lawrence says she has no idea what led to the shooting, but says she had spoken to her brother earlier that day.
He wanted to go downtown. I was like, no, there's always something downtown on the 4th of July. Something goes down.
Police have charged 16-year-old Kenneth Watts in the shooting. During his first appearance in court Thursday, a judge told him his maximum punishment is life without parole, saying he's too young to be given the death penalty. Lawrence's family is glad police were able to make an arrest, and they also find some hope in the fact that they're able to donate the 18-year-old's organs.
Gunshots near downtown St. Louis as firefighters try to put out a dumpster fire. A Jefferson County man stopped at 14th and Choteau to watch fireworks, but things quickly got out of control.
He was shocked to find out a man had died from those gunshots in his video. Only on News 4, he spoke about the terrifying incident to our Eric Cox.
Startling footage of a dumpster fire burning bright on the 4th of July.
A very long time to get here.
The crowd of onlookers sprinting away at the sound of gunfire, but the person recording completely unaware.
It became more clear once I was reviewing the footage later that night that someone had been shot.
Blake Lilge says he and his family were heading home to DeSoto when they spotted fireworks from the highway.
I had to see what was going on because it looked like a pyrotechnician show.
But by the time they arrived at the Clinton Peabody Apartments near Choteau and 14th, the show was over and the fire was raging.
Planes were just shooting up high up here. I mean, it was crazy. There was just black smoke everywhere. Look at
Lilge returned to the complex with me, a memorial for Brian Mitchell, bringing back memories of what he witnessed over the holiday weekend.
This was a person, you know, I may not have known this person, but this was a real life, you know, human being.
The 29-year-old father of one with another child on the way was shot in the stomach. He was rushed to the hospital where he later died. Mitchell was one of 4 people shot and killed in the St. Louis area during the 4th of July.
Somebody who was unexpectedly, you know, having a good time on 4th of July, shooting off fireworks in St. Louis, was brutally murdered in cold blood.
Eric?
Police in Grand Haven say it's a good thing no one was hurt. After a large fight broke out at the state park tonight, officers were called into the park around 8:30 for, and I am quoting here, a lot of people fighting. It reportedly escalated through the night, and officers from other agencies, including the Ottawa County Sheriff's Department, were called in. We're told about 300 people were involved in 8 to 10 different fights. The park was evacuated and closed for the evening. No word on any arrests yet, but police say there was no damage.
This afternoon, we're continuing to follow a night of violence, including a deadly shooting along the riverfront. In total, News 4 is tracking 6 different shootings overnight. St. Louis police say they found 19-year-old Ivory Newburn dead inside a car on Lenore K. Sullivan right near the MLK Bridge last night. It happened about 1:30 this morning. Police say there were 4 other victims there when they arrived, but they were not hurt. Police say 2 suspects were also shot in all of this. One is listed in critical, unstable condition. About 30 minutes before that triple shooting, a woman showed up at a hospital with 2 gunshot wounds of her own. She was shot in the arm and the chest on Temple Place. Now we're told she is in critical condition right now. And just before midnight, St. Louis police rushed out to Wall Street. That's near Hickey Park in the Baden neighborhood. There, officers found a woman shot in the head and a man shot in the back.
No traffic stopping, we weren't holding up traffic whatsoever.
Only on 11, one of 3 women arrested after police say she caused chaos as they were trying to arrest a chase suspect. She says those charges against her are ridiculous, and she says she didn't do anything wrong.
Sean and Kenneth Watts is facing a host of charges, all of them laid out in these arrest warrants. Still a lot of questions remain, like how and why this happened.
Police saying 16-year-old Kenneth Edwards Watts was the gunman responsible for killing 18-year-old Raheem McAllister and injuring 3 others. It happened around 10:45, about an hour after the July 4th fireworks in downtown Raleigh, near the intersection of South Wilmington and East South Streets.
We just heard a gunshot out of nowhere. So my first thing, I paused to make sure it wasn't a firework. We heard another one, and that's when we just started running.
Jada Cobb telling us it was a chaotic, terrifying scene. People were confused, scared, and then they started running away. Cobb was shot in the arm. She says she was caught in the crossfire.
The only thing I was thinking about was, what's going to happen to me? Am I going to be okay?
Not the kind of thoughts that should have to go through a 13-year-old's mind. McAllister's family devastated, telling us the teenager died today. There's still no word on what led up to the shooting.
When it comes to the 4th of July, there are only 3 kinds of cities in this country today. 1, places that have 4th of July fireworks year after year without much chaos. 2, places that canceled their 4th of July fireworks all over the country. I've documented how that has happened dozens and dozens of times in both of my books, White Girl Bleed a Lot and Don't Make the Black Kids Angry. And the third category of cities on this 4th of July There's places who wish they had canceled their 4th of July celebration. Every one of these cities that we see here is going to go through a lot of thumb-sucking, soul-searching. Over the next few months, there's going to be a lot of city council meetings, a lot of letters to the editors, wondering what the hell happened, wondering how we can stop it next year, wondering if we can get the pastors involved, wonder if we can get the parents involved, wonder if we can get the police involved, wondering what the hell we can do to stop all this violence that happens every single 4th of July without making the black kids angry.